Everybody, Bridget Lynn DOLGOFF and Consciousness of Economics and Urban Farm Project. In case you're wondering where I'm at, I am in a music room and I'm working on computer stuff I need to get done. Working on trying to get a cryptocurrency menu page so people, if they want to donate or whatever, could donate a cryptocurrency. So I'm trying to work all that out. And I've got some other stuff I've got to work out, but in the home stretch. So there were a couple things. I'm just going to look over here. Okay, so I've been living out here in the desert. Hold on a second. Yeah, I've been living out here in the desert. And so I, parking my van at a friend of mine's place. Also helping him to get his property cleaned up and get his dogs kind of fixed up. One of his older dogs, been adjusting her and working with her a little bit, trying to get her, back up to shape, and she's doing super good. She, her tail, her nub was on one side and waggled over there. And she was her hips were totally off. And in her life, she got hit by a car. And also, she was in a car and the car had to make a sudden stop and she hit the windshield and broke the windshield with her head. So tough. She's tough. But, so she's kind of, a little bit effed up. So been working on her and helping with property and everything else, and made a garden and all that other stuff. Pulled 500 pounds of weeds over last week. It's a lot. So today is work in the office day and try to get things done that I haven't gotten done from last week. So I want to talk about energy, compounded energy, because I don't think sometimes people really kind of understand this. So, for example, I've been parking on this one area of the land out here in the desert, to sleep. And everything's been great. Sleeping really sound, really hard. Leave the doors open on the van, super great, because it's pretty hot as of late. But then I wanted to move to a more shaded area on the property next to a building, a big metal building. And on the back side of it, after like 12 noon, the backside is completely shaded on this one corner. So we cleaned it all out so I could park there. So the first night was a weird night. And then the second night I was like, yeah, I'm just not going to do this. So first night, me and my dog couldn't go to sleep. Everything on the backside. So there's an acres of fields, desert, then there's houses on the backside. So quite a ways away. And all the noise, like coyote noise, the dogs in the different yards, the horses, whinnying, all this stuff's taking place at night. And every little noise, even like a bat noise, is being reflected, captured, and bounced off this metal wall. So, and kind of like reverberating back. So just that, it was like having, quadruple eardrums, and you could hear every little noise. So that really bothered me. And the fact that, it was bothering Jen too, because she has supersonic hearing and it's amplifying her supersonic hearing. So she can't relax. She can't go to sleep. So she's growling and barking and going, whoo, whoo. That's her quiet kind of bark. So then it even got weirder. So I kept waking up in the middle of the night, and the doors on the back of the van were open, and there was like the weirdest spot on the metal wall. And I couldn't, I was half asleep, so I couldn't decide if it was a porthole, it was some kind of holographic image being projected, or it was some kind of transmission kind of a thing. But it was, okay, there's no trees, was no light, so pretty dark. But it looked like, things were moving and trees were moving and shadows and shaded and some light. And it was pretty crazy. And I was too tired because I've been working my butt off. And a lot of that stuff doesn't bother me as much as it used to. When I was younger, I used to freak out. That kind of stuff really stressed me out in my space. But I think because of all the work, traditional shamanism work I've done, I'm not as, terrified or scared of whatever it's going to be. Now, if it's going to take a step in a really negative direction, then there's going to be some things that are going to happen, like going to close down the whole party. So I kind of dealt with it, not last night, but the night before, too tired to move. And there's a lot of anger, so couldn't sleep, kept getting woke up, crazy amplification of noise, which is amplification of energy. Then there's all this, visual weird activity going on the side. And just, was becoming really irritated and had a really rough night's sleep. So, night 2. So, last night, got in there, opened the doors. There was this out of the blue. Okay. Wasn't even talked about, was not until the moment that it came in, like 4:00 in the afternoon over Lake Tahoe coming into Reno. No talk about thunderstorms or rain or any of that stuff. It was like this crazy storm. And at one point there were 10-cent hails out here, 10-cent size hail. I mean, it was just so crazy. And mind you, it's like been 100 degrees in the desert. So you're like, how does anything form anything? Because there's not a drop of moisture anywhere, right? It's been sucked out. It's the dry desert. So we have this like crazy, like 3-hour, thunder, big lightning. I mean, it was striking right on the street. We could see it. And the thunder was so loud. There was a couple cracks, and, I was out here working in the shed, and that was it. I ran into the house because it was getting a little bit, close to home, and the thunder beings were really, really clearing some serious energy. Crack! So, they were messing with the energy field, let's just say that. So after it was all over, opened the van doors, cooled it off, and we got in there to go to sleep, and then, the activity started to pick up, so there's all this sound bouncing off that wall, and then bouncing into the van, supersonic hearing amplified, and it just kind of wouldn't stop, and Jen couldn't relax or whatever, and I finally just said, you know what, I'm not spending another night in the spot that is so highly activated, with sound and noise and whatever's going on in this particular spot on the property, and that there's anger that could, ignite, and I don't want to be part of that ignition. So I can't do it. So like 2:00 in the morning, I started the van and I moved it back to the old spot. I'm like, you know what? I'll just have to figure out how to deal with getting it cooled off at night a little bit better. But at least it'll be peaceful and we'll sleep. So I pulled it right back to where I was before, turned it off, and Jen and I went right to sleep and didn't wake up all night. So I was thinking about it. So last night was going to be a lot worse. We got this porthole transmission holograph thing that is, whether it's coming from the sky or it's being projected or it's coming from the ground or a little bit of both, on the wall. So it's creating a whole lot of weird vibrational energy. And, I'm not really not in the mood to talk to anybody right now, outside of this reality. I got enough on my plate and they haven't really been really supportive all these years of my life. There were years in my life that I didn't sleep at night. I did energetic work. They used me as a conduit to help this world and fix things, probably codes and whatever else. There were time periods where I actually was awake and worked on that stuff. And then during the day, I have to go do, my day life and my day work. And, I just don't really feel supported at all. It's not an equal, give and take situation. So I don't want their stuff in my stuff. I don't want the porthole. I don't want to talk to anything or anyone. I don't want any other information other than kind of what I'm dealing with right now. Because you know what? I can't do it all. And I really need, to focus in on the next month and getting everything together so that I can get on the road and I can make all of the arrangements and obligations that I've made for myself and for others and for the, seed nation. And so that's kind of like what I'm focused in on. So this morning I was thinking a lot about how, last night would have been a way more radical night because we had this crazy thunderstorm. Okay, the lightning, sham, is like, actually, it forces nitrogen into the ground. It pulls nitrogen from the air, and nitrogen, can be used for bombs, right? So it's like a Uranus planet kind of energy, like bam, and it can, either amplify negative or amplify positive, or it can fracture and shatter all of it. But in the ground here, because it's the sand, it's silica, right? Sand is basically silica base because of all the quartz, right? So even in the ground, you can see little pieces of rock all over. You've got some rose quartz. I've seen smoky quartz. I've seen flint, or not flint, but the different kinds of stuff that they would have made, arrowheads out of, which is like a glass. It's also a conduit. Those quartz, they like to hold energy, and they also can act as, like a transmitter as well. That's why in computers, they've used quartz crystals, right, in order to be conduits and, transmit information. So you got that in the ground, the sand and all the quartz crystals and everything else. Then you have the last night, then you got this crazy, and then you have the lightning, which is like a whole other frequency and energy. It's more of a visual, silent one. And then you've got this thunder that was like so loud and so sharp, which is like, transmitting information and data and, shifting energy and changing it and amplifying what's there. And then I was thinking, there was probably and then we've got this porthole thingy over there, and there's just a lot of negative energy over where I was at. And then the whole sound of everything bouncing off that metal wall, being amplified sound, even the quietest little June bug outside, that sound amplified off that wall into the van, supersonic hearing. So that's, and that's probably not all that affects places, like on Earth, right? And they're like acupuncture points. And then also Jen and I being there, we're also pulling in cosmic energy, and we're standing on the land and grounding the land. So we're also conduits for a lot of other energy going on. And so there's just a lot in the mix. So, when you go out, or I go out, and I have to assess what kind of energies are at a place, there's a lot to take in, and there's a lot to assess. And like mediums will go in and talk to ghosts and people who've passed over, or, beings. I don't do medium work, but I do it in a different way. I pick up on energies and where the energies came from, um, and how to, like, amplify or fix those energies into the positive, in a good way. Release a lot of that kind of stuff. So people, homes, animals, land, and make it all better conduits for good. Because there's been a lot of, so then you have all this other history that you don't know about of the area that can also reflect the energy. Like, I don't know where in the United States, Native people were not massacred, or even, coming across people and wagons and stuff like that. I mean, they were hostile to each other. There's a lot of things that have happened, and all the different imprints that reflect energy. And it's interesting to me how I can be in this one spot on the property that's not very far from this other spot, and how unbelievably different they are, and how every little thing plays into it. The building that was built there, that's strictly metal and large, um, the type of crystals in the sand conduit. I think, like in forests and stuff like that, where it's more humus soil, it absorbs a lot more of this kind of stuff. So desert people, it might be like why there's that 40 days and 40 nights of the desert. You have to go through these processes because, of the extremity of the energies, of just dealing with the sand, and the, rock people below, and how it's all affected. The sun plays a major role with sand, because it's, it's amplifying the crystals even down underneath the soil. And so you have mirrors, basically tons and tons of mirrors down there that are absorbing and reflecting, absorbing and reflecting. So fixing energy sometimes isn't an easy thing to do. And sometimes we don't really understand all the components, of what causes energy to be a certain way, or what makes it go back and forth, crazy to good, or negative, or how one area could just hold anger. And so you're in that, and then you have these energies that are amplifying it, and you just become totally irrational and irritated, like last night. And then at some point I'm like, no way that I'm dealing with all this crazy energy in the spot. I already spent a night here. And then now today we have the thunderstorm and the lightning storm. And it's like, no, it's just going to be so crazy and off the charts. It's just going to be better for me to move. So once I recognize that, I'm starting to get pissed off. I can't sleep. I'm tossing and turning. And then I'm like, oh, no. I just have to move. I have to forego having shade and my van being cooler at night, because it's in the shade during partially of the day. I have to forego that to, sleep in a spot that's going to be hotter, but is going to be calmer and more peaceful. But, that's the other thing too, is sometimes, I remember reading the Carlo Castaneda books, and one of the things I really loved was, finding your power spot. Where is your power spot? Because that's where you're going to be your strongest. That's where your health is going to be the best. It's where you're going to be able to get sleep and be calm and at peace. And it's going to help to feed you, and you'll have a very good relationship with it, where you are part of, the acupuncture point for that spot as well. So I think sometimes there's a lot of truth in that, is when you move to a new place or whatever, finding your power spot at that place, whether it's an apartment, whether it's in your van and you're parked on the side of the road, whether you say you're living in your RV and you want the right RV spot, get out of the car and walk the property, get a sense of what feels best, right? and then, park your RV there. Find your power spot. Learn how to dowse. Get yourself a pendulum. Dowse it out. If you're not good at reading your intuition or the slight signals that go on in your body, then get a pendulum and start learning how to work with the pendulum, so that you can figure this information out, so that you're in the best possible place for you personally, wherever you go. All right, so those were just some thoughts I had this morning, and I thought I would put them out. And now I can do longer videos because I'm verified again. Just never goes. Verify, 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 verify. We have to be thoroughly stamped and processed and verified in this new world. All right. Yeah, I mean, the thing is we wouldn't need all that because people wouldn't steal. I just want to make a comment. If we had agricultural based economy, there would be no need for people to steal. There would be no need for people to want to steal, because they would have plenty of good fresh food with high dense nutrient. We would have economies and jobs that are based on that. Clothing from good organic hemp or cotton. You could even make cleaning products from stuff. People could have herbal farms and they would make the herbs for, healthy environmental cleaners. If everything went back to economy-based societies, we wouldn't need anything, and we wouldn't need anybody to give us anything, and we wouldn't use poisons. And we wouldn't even need a car. If our little job was within our area, or the job was to grow herbs, or create the essential oil elixirs or whatever else, and then you send them over to another guy in your neighborhood who makes the cleaning products, and then all that is sold in your area, so everybody has a job in their area. So they all grow food, or the person next to them grows food. So we wouldn't need to be verified. We wouldn't need to be this, that, or the other thing, because we wouldn't have identity theft. Nobody would want your identity because everybody would have the same opportunities, right? It would be equal, and everybody would work together. And I know that's tough, and how are we going to get there? But, just thoughts, right? All right, Bridgette DOLGOFF, Conscious of Economics and Urban Farm Project. Have a spectacular day, and check your energy.